But they even mention the trenches of Belgium when they stopped fighting and they were won. A spirit stronger than war was working that night. December 1914, cold, clear and bright. Countries' borders were right out of sight when they joined together and decided not to fight. All together now. All together now. All together now. In no man's land, together, all together now, all together now, all together now. In no man's land, together. The same old story again. All those tears shed in vain. Nothing learned and nothing gained. Only hope remains. All together now. All together now. All together now. In no man's land, together, all together now, all together now, all together now. In no man's land, together, all together now, all together now. All together now. In no man's land. The boys they said no, stop the fighting, let's go home, let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go. The boys they said no, stop the slaughter, stay at home, stay at home, stay at home. In no man's land. All together now, all together now. All together now. Together, together in no man's land. All together now. All together now. Together now. The boys they said no, stop the slaughter, stay at home, stay at home. The boys they said no, stop the fight and let's go home, let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go. Together now. All together now. Together now. The now. All together now. All together now. All together now. In no man's land. Together. Thank you. you very much, ladies and gentlemen. I almost teared up with that. I don't think the conditions couldn't be any more poignant, actually. I mean, I certainly wasn't expecting the conditions to be that good. But honestly, I really appreciate you coming out, of course. I know it's a lot more colder than usual, but I told you, obviously, to wrap up warm and everything. But there's also one other thing that I'd like to do. But before I do that, I've actually got a very special poem that was written by, of course, someone who, believe it or not, was a very avid football fan. And it was just written back on the 5th of December, on the Wednesday in 2018, Wednesday, December the 5th, 2018. And it is, the poem was called One Trenching Christmas. It's quite a long poem, but I'll go through it as quickly as I can. But it's very important, and there's a reason why I've got my football right here. And of course, it'll come in handy for something very important right after the poem. So here is the poem, One Christmas, in the Trenches, by Crispin Thomas. One Christmas in the trenches, they stood in mud and sand, their loved ones and their football, afar off distant land. The snow lay thick, as thick could be, a bitter chill did spread. Behind the sandbags and wire, they stood among the dead. Their sweethearts' faces locked inside, their tins and bits of things, along with resignation of all that fighting brings. On backs of woodbine packets, some cold tin stew, like texts and updates of their day, the scores will still get through. December 1914, upon that Christmas morn, when an act unplanned, an instant truce was born. Behind the barbed wire barricades, all scorched and bleak and bare, as distant sound grew all around, a song hung on the air. That Christmas in the trenches, a hope blew on the wind, a carol in another tongue, from far off did begin. We'll never know who made the call to move in such a way, but something somehow lifted them upon that Christmas day. Forbidden breaches of orders, we call it what we will, but hearts were stirred and greetings heard. The air grew calm and still. From boroughs, then on either side, they met in no man's land, as enemy met enemy, with gifts and outstretched hands. A football thrown between the guns from nowhere did appear, and in that silence voices rang and echoed loud and clear. We'll never know the score or just how many games when Tommy Atkins challenged Fritz upon that Christmas day. How can we dare comment? What use these simple lines if none of us can dream or feel the horror of those times? As for a moment time stood still, when arms were left aside, the bayonet, the rifle, the cannon hate and pride. But one result is certain, as game and friendship ceased, the sudden opportunity for peace was never seized. And still we wonder how a man can laugh and play with men, to then return like sheep to fold, to kill and kill again. One Christmas in that first great war of stench and blood and grime, their football brought them closer for one brief day in time. And though commanders drove them back, their orders to obey, between the lines a match was played upon that Christmas day. And at this time in the pandemic, we've actually got a bit of hope now with so much news about the vaccines. And if there's anything that I want to say about this time at the moment in the pandemic, if this football was the virus and my right foot was the vaccine, this is what I would do.
Oh.
Screw you, coronavirus! We don't belong in the world!
Very good.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. I've been waiting to do that. I know you weren't expecting that, and I didn't think I hit the...
That was a good shot.
Very pro, but I told you. I was very cautious. I wasn't going to tell you that I was going to kick a football, but that's all in relation to the Christmas Truce. And I know, of course, Christmas is just round the corner, but I couldn't have thought of a better song to honour that time in history. And I know Christmas is just round the corner. And honestly, as I said, I've had a lot of fun doing this. And of course, once again on Thursday, later on, of course, next week, will mark 30 years since the song All Together Now from the Farm was sung. But since, of course, thank you very much, I'll get it. If you might remember, of course, the Sainsbury's advert from a few years ago, they actually done that. So I wanted to have a bit of a reference to that. But I really appreciate you coming out and braving this cold weather. But since, of course, Christmas is just round the corner, to finish things off, I'd like to play a Christmas song to get you in the Christmas mood. I honestly think that should be a Christmas song, the All Together Now, the Farms, because of the poignant message. But to leave you in high spirits after that very moving and emotional performance, here's a very familiar song that you might know from around Christmas time. And it is a song that I never thought that when I first heard it, I didn't even know what it was all about, but it was actually about a soldier fighting in the trenches. I'm not sure if it was the first or second, but for most of you who might know it, it's a very popular one, and I'd like to leave you with it. It's Stop the Cavalry from Jonah Louie, if you might know that. But of course, if you did, most of you that got the letters through your door earlier on, of course, this week, I am planning to do another performance coming up to Christmas, if you want to brave the cold again, and also I've got one lined up for the new year as well. And I know it's going to be very different this year, as you know, with this pandemic going on, but if any of you still want me to perform, which I know most of you would still agree that you'd want me to, I'm always here for you to get through this very dark and twisted time. And as I said before, we will beat this virus. As I've said before, we will beat it all together. With all these vaccines coming in very soon, and as soon as we all get, of course, vaccinated, and when we can meet again and hug each other and, you know, socialise, it will be a very special day. That day will come. This virus won't, of course, be around here forever, as I've said before, and I've got every hope that we'll meet together with each other once again very, very soon. So, but anyway, thank you very much for coming out, and I hope to see you, of course, in a few weeks' time for my Christmas special sing-along for a few Christmas carols, and also one for New Year's Eve. But once again, from myself, Jack Wright, Lieutenant Jack Wright of the British Army, thank you very much for coming out, and I'll see you very, very soon. Take care, everyone. Good afternoon.
Thank you. Well done.